ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, תשענת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
A psalm of David. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want, giving me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit, guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Adonai forever. From the last chapter of Proverbs, Eshet chayil mi himtza v'rachok mi pninim michra. What a precious find is an Eshet chayil, a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies. Her husband puts his confidence in her and lacks no good thing. She is good to him, never bad, all the days of her life. She opens her hand to the needy and extends her hand to the poor. She is clothed with strength and splendor. She looks to the future cheerfully. She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household and never eats the bread of idleness. Her children come forward and bless her. Her husband praises her and says, "Many women have done superbly, but you surpass them all." Charm is deceitful and beauty vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, Creator of heaven, earth, man, and woman, be gracious to your children who mourn. May the light of your presence dispel the gloom of absence so keenly felt on this sad day. Bless them with your compassion, empower them with your love, touch them with the fullness of your heart, that they may be granted inner peace. Was it not you who said, "Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will sustain you with my power"? As we remember the blessings in the life of Shoshana, Golda, Bat Shmuel, Natan, Vihudit, Shelley Knape, we ask you, Eternal One, to remember your promise to us, and let us say, Amen. I would like to invite a couple people to come up to share words of eulogy, thoughts and memories of Shelley. To begin with, I would like to invite a cousin of Shelley, Rabbi Elliot Pachter.
I'm used to being in the rabbi position and I speak last, so if I take away anybody's stories, I apologize. It's always just a big emotional thrill to be here in Ahavas Israel, which was our family synagogue going back to my great-grandfather, and look around the room, and the great-grandfather of others, Louis Kleiman, and they used to say, I tell this story every time, my brother and I would be in shul like 40 years ago, and they would say, well, the shul will always be around because of the Pachter boys, and the Pachter boys left 40 years ago, and the Resheskis stuck around. And I'm just very proud of the Resheskis, including Shelley, who continue to be a part of the synagogue. A few converging thoughts before I talk more specifically about my cousin. 50 years ago this year, I attended my first funerals for my grandpa, Abe Altman, and it was a really rough time for our family, for me, my cousin Shelley, and the rest of us. And it just occurred to me that my grandpa, like Shelley, was also only 68 years old. Today is September 11th. It's a sad day for all Americans and a sad day for us. And about less than 2 weeks after the terrible attack on America in 2001, September 11th, our dear Uncle Melvin died. That's kind of coming back to me today too. And finally, everybody around the world is remembering the Queen who passed away, and we in this room remember our Queen. I just want to share two images of my cousin Shelley. I think I say two, and I think I say three of them, but I mentioned number two. I don't know why I wrote two. Going back to that 50 years ago, I was 12, 13 years old. My cousin Shelley was 5 years older than me, so 17, 18, and she was like the coolest person I knew. And what I don't understand is why she gave up her Sundays, because it seemed like every Sunday my family was over at the Resheskis, and for hours, it seemed like hours and hours, my brother Larry and I and my cousins, really like my sisters, Shelley and Lisa, we sat in that kitchen table, and you probably all remember the kitchen table from Anita's house, and we just sat there for hours and we played canasta. And we listened and sang along to Carole King's Tapestry. And Shelley just gave me the time of day, and she was so funny. I don't have to tell you how funny she was. And it's like the best years of my life that I can ever remember, just sitting at that table for hours with Shelley and Lisa and Larry. And I was worrying about going back to school on Monday, and it was just such a relief, just such a break to be with her, to be with them. And then I'm going to skip ahead a few years, and I now have a new cousin, Tom. And Shelley is a mom. And I know everybody will get up here and say things about different people, and different people pass away, but Shelley was just so devoted to Joey and Sarah and Michael, and then fast forward to being a grandma to Isabel and Ben and Morgan, and it doesn't end there. You know, there's a word in English, we say great aunt, and great aunt just means you're the sibling of the grandparents. But I think when you look up in the dictionary, you're going to see a picture of Shelley. Not only is a wife, a mother, mother-in-law, the way that she was an aunt to Jennifer and Stephanie and to their children, it's just incredible. So there was this period where every time Naomi or I would talk to Shelley, which kid is she taking care of that day? Now I'm getting into my third thing, even though I only had a list of two. So a week ago, we had a wedding. Some of you wish me mazel tov. 1 week ago today. And Shelley and Tom were going to be there, and a lot of the Grand Rapids cousins, and it wasn't meant to be. But I have to tell you, I told you how comforting it was to be around Shelley and her family growing up. So my wife, Naomi, and my kids just followed suit, and they just loved coming to Grand Rapids. So last week we were at the wedding, and I'm not sure why they chose a song. My son Johnny's really into music, and Natalie, his wife, is really into music. They picked songs for people to walk down the aisle. So Naomi and I and Johnny first walked down the aisle, and then the friends started to come, and I'm not making this up, they played Lean on Me. That's our song? That's our song? And of course, Larry and I and the rest, we're just all, that's all we could think about was what's going on here. That's one song, and we just sang the song because it was a great song. But if you think of the words, it's sometimes in your life you all have pain, you all have sorrow, and then it goes on, lean on me when you're not strong, I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on. That was our Shelley. How many people leaned on her? Then we had one other song, really wasn't our song, Lean on Me was our song, but Lisa and Dorothy, I don't know if you remember, there was one day we were in town, and I'm sitting with you guys and Shelley in the living room, and Naomi walks in, and Shelley starts belting out, and we all just, like Shelley was the leader, so we just did what she did. She starts singing, "Hello, Naomi, well, hello." And so we get up and we're just singing. Naomi doesn't know what's going on. And then I started thinking for a second how that song ends. And we say, Shelley, don't ever go away. Shelley, don't ever go away. I got to change the last word a little bit. Shelley, please don't go away today. You're always with us, Shelley. You're always with us. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be let's say a sister-in-law of Shelley, Lisa Rashevsky's partner, Dorothy Berg.
I should really take my glasses off because then I slow down to read. So I'll try to go slow, so I have a tendency to rush it through. When I asked Lisa what she wanted others to know about her relationship with Shelley, Lisa said how grateful and honored she was to be Shelley's sister. Lisa loved having the role of being a sister and having a sister. Lisa talked to her every day, growing up, of course, but every day beyond that, too. They usually had lunch together, but by phone most of the time. She was working and I was working, Lisa said, but we'd get our lunches out. I'd get a buzz from the secretary saying, "Your sister's on the phone," or I'd call her. 65 years of everyday contact. They would leave each other's houses and then call each other on the phone when they got home. "Hi, Shell, it's your sister." She knew it was me, Lisa said, but it was a special role in life for us, so we liked to say it. All of their lives growing up, they shared a room. They had so much fun. Sharing a room meant staying awake and singing songs and telling jokes and secrets and their deepest feelings, too. Later, though, when I first met Shelley and was joyously remembering how much fun Lisa had had sharing a room with her and singing songs and telling jokes, Shelley, as the older sister, by 3 years, of course, said, "I always wanted my own room." As adults, what Lisa said she valued and is so ongoingly grateful for was that Shelley always included her. Every time Michael had a baseball game or there was a party for Sarah or Joey, Lisa was, of course, invited. Lisa was part of the family. She loves her nieces and nephews, and now their children, too. The picture of the 5 cousins that hung in Melvin and Edith's home above the couch continues to be a moving picture filled with events and developments. Joey is a lawyer and lives in Florida. Stephanie, accomplished dentist who loves the family and keeps it moving too. Sarah, who works in a large company and is the mother of Morgan, loved by all. Jennifer, teacher and mother of 4 active, lovely children, and the youngest of the 5, Michael, who is a family man himself. The combined spirit of the 5 cousins in the picture is inclusive, loving, and really a lot of fun to have running through the family and the house and the outdoors and everywhere they go. Shelley was a center point of the family, to whom everyone turned for comfort and camaraderie and the joy of just being together. She already today is so irreplaceably missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Rabbi Elliott. I'm framing my remarks slightly differently because I want to take you on a journey with me really through the last year. Before I begin, I want to extend to Shelley's family, on behalf of all of Ahavas Israel, my sincerest condolences to Shelley's loving husband, Tom, to her children, Joseph, and Sarah, Charlie, Michael, and Arminda, also to Isabel, Ben, and Morgan, and to Lisa, Dorothy, and Edith. My heart breaks for you on the loss of your beloved wife, mother, sister, daughter, grandmother, Shoshana Golda bat Shmuel Natan Yehudit. So we are all on this journey through life. Typically, the end of that journey is somewhere beyond the horizon. We don't know when it's going to end or anything more than a vague sense of how close we might be to the end. It could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week, next month, next year, or decades from now. For the past year, Shelley traveled this journey with more than the typical awareness of the end. So I want to take you through that journey against the backdrop of the journey through the Jewish year and the books of Torah that we read over the course of that year. Now, I've been thinking about this for the past 10 days or so since the last time I was able to have a conversation with Shelley. She had recently gotten her final diagnosis, and at that point she wanted only one thing: to go home. Now, I knew that Shelley had been in the hospital or a rehab bed for the past 3 months. And in that time, Tom had moved into their new home. So the home in which Shelley raised the children was no longer her home. That home was gone. She was going to the home that she and Tom built with the promise that it would be the home in which they would grow old together. So I asked her, what does going home mean? And she responded, essentially, that going home means going to be with Tom for the time she had remaining. So I began thinking about what it meant for Shelley to complete the journey of the last year of her life by coming home to a kind of promised land, his promised house, to be with the one to whom she made promises, her beloved Tom. Now, Shelley's journey, this journey, began almost exactly a year ago. By the Hebrew calendar, she entered the new year with a test that revealed her initial diagnosis, cancer diagnosis, the very morning of Rosh Hashanah. The journey roughly covers the liturgical reading of the entire Torah, beginning with the book of Genesis, concluding just before the entrance to that promised land. Shelley's journey began in the genesis of her illness. So in the Bible, Genesis serves as the backstory of the world and the first family of Abraham and Sarah, how he formed the covenant with God, how he grew into the Israelite people. For Shelley, that initial period of Genesis was the backstory of her diagnosis, figuring it out. This figuring out what's the origin of these symptoms I've been experiencing, the creation, the genesis of a plan of treatment. And then in the next phase of the year, the book of Exodus introduces us to the pain of slavery, the liberation from Egypt, and the acceptance of a formal covenant with God in the form of laws of Torah. So Shelley's journey introduced the discomfort of cancer treatments, coming in waves with periods of liberation in between when she would feel somewhat better, but then would follow another series of treatments, and she'd alternate back and forth between suffering and relief, much like the Israelites would go back and forth between these hopes raised by the presence of Moses and the despair of Pharaoh's rejections. And then we enter the book of Leviticus, the central book of Torah, largely about the role of the holy in the life of Israel. Somewhere in the middle of Shelley's treatments, it began to be apparent that the goal might not be a complete cure, but rather a meaningful extension of her life, of her journey, to be able to spend more time with her family and close friends. So when we talk about goals of care in a medical setting, we're focusing in on what is the holy center of our lives. And it's from this place during this part of Shelley's journey that she made some very powerful decisions about what do I want? Where do I want to go from here? What's the best way to get there? The book of Numbers introduces the point at which the journey begins to feel painful and pointless. The Israelites complain and rebel. Shelley's journey reached a point where the current treatments were not working well, and a more radical solution was needed. She and Tom began to explore that radical surgery at the Mayo Clinic, but her body initially rebelled against the need to increase her nutrition to prepare for the surgery. And then we reached the book of Deuteronomy, the last book of Torah, the final chapters, which take place in the last year of the Israelites' journey, when they can see the promised land. Moses, who would not be accompanying them across the Jordan River, gives a series of speeches. Shelley did have that surgery at Mayo and was journeying through recovery when an additional diagnosis brought her life to an end. Shelley's year-long journey came to an end approximately when we reached the parasha in Deuteronomy, when we read, "When you enter the land that Adonai your God has given you as a heritage." At that point, she completed her journey, and she went to that place that was promised to her, first to the home that she and Tom had built to grow old together in, and then, in this metaphorical sense, to crossing over the Jordan River, to entering Olam Haba, the world to come. So she began this journey on the morning of Rosh Hashanah, the new year, and we're entering a new year in 2 weeks. On Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we'll pause to consider our mortality, consider our goals in life, what makes our life sacred, what makes our life meaningful. We're unlikely to be guided on the journey through our life and through Torah in precisely the same way that Shelley was guided. But our goal ought to be to live our lives, our journeys, as thoughtfully as Shelley did. With hopefulness, with courage, with a willingness to take risks for those we love, and ultimately with the strength to know when it's time to peacefully enter the land that God has prepared for us. May the memory of Shoshana Golda, Bat Shmuel Natan Vihudit, Zichrona Livracha, remain with us as a blessing. Tehi Nishmatat Tzurura B'Tzror Chaim. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal. Following the end of this service, we will travel to the Greenwood Cemetery on Leonard for the burial service. Following that, there will be a Seudat Habra'ah, a meal of consolation, back here in the synagogue. The family would like to invite you to come back here and join them for the meal. Please rise for an El Malei Rachamim memorial prayer.
El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hametzei Menucha Nechona Al Tachat Kashchina Bema'alo Kedoshim Utorim Kezohar Harakiya Mazirim את נשמת שושנה גולדה בת שמואל נתן ויהודית שהלכה לעולמה בעבור שנדבו צדקה באר הזכרת נשמתה בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה לכן בעל הרחמים יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויתרור החיים את נשמתה אדוני הוא נחלתה ותנוח על משכבה בשלום ונאמר Amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Shelley Knape, Shoshana Golda Bat Shmuel Natan Vihudit, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Amen. Pallbearers, please come forward.